Making beats without any equipment is probably the best way to learn how to produce. All you need to make beats is a laptop, speakers, and a DAW to make beats in. Logic Pro is the system that I will be working in today, and I will be using no equipment. And if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I've got a lot more coming out for you guys. Before we get into the video, I just want to say shout out to this person right here that commented on the last one. Shout out to you guys, showing love, and for always watching. Appreciate you. Alright, so for opening up Logic Pro, I will see something like this where it says create new track. With this first track here, it opened with the classic electric piano. And so what I want to do is over on the left is go through all of these sounds here in this library. If I want to start with a melody, I can go through the synthesizer and find a lot of instruments here, or just in general, we've got mallets, guitars, keyboards, all this good stuff. Before I start my melody, I got to pick a tempo. So I'm going to turn on this metronome here on the top and then hit play. So if I want to switch that, I just drag this up or down. I'm going to put this at like 145. So I'm going to right click, create MIDI region on the first track, drag that out to about halfway, and then loop it to the end. Double click this, opens up my piano roll here. To give myself some more room, in the top left, I'll close that instruments, and then I can start to play around with some different notes here, or draw them in by hitting Command, click. These notes that I just drew in, I'm going to hit Shift, backslash on my keyboard to extend these out. And so I've got these first chords layered here, and I'm going to zoom in and start to draw some notes that sit on the higher end. Okay, so I've got these bells to start with, just kind of a general idea for the melody, and then I'm going to hit Command D on my keyboard to duplicate that track, go back to the left, and I'm just going to find something else I can layer this sound with. So I'm going to take this sound and add an EQ over it. There's a lot going on, so I want to just kind of keep it in the background. So if I just want to call it something, I just name it synth. That way I stay organized with all these tracks. So this is almost sounding like an arpeggiator, so I'm just going to call this synth arp. Then I'm going to add some effects to this. So in the top left, go to this info tab and start adding in any of these plugins here that I like. So one thing I like to do automatically is just add this channel EQ. Start to work with the sound a little bit. I'm carving out this sound a lot because I want the frequencies in those other sounds to be more heard. If I wanted to add some reverb, I would just go and find Space Designer. Any of these are good. I like Space Designer a lot, but then I can start to add my own release and reverb. So that's more of like a textural instrument, so I'm going to keep this one kind of in the background. It just adds a little bit of brightness. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to add a few more instruments here, including a counter melody, so I don't want the same thing to repeat over and over again. So I really like to go to this world section here because it has a lot of really just open and airy, realistic sounding instruments. So for example, any of these guitars are pretty good and they sound on the realistic end. So I'm just going to keep this one with the synth layer because I think it matches well, and I can kind of use that for my counter melody. So I'm going to go back to this original melody that I made and then copy these chords over. I'm just going to give this an extra layer. So with these strings here, I'm going to kind of make them really airy. So I want to go back to my reverb and add some chroma verb. So then I'll just select all these notes that I played in on my keyboard and quantize them by 1/16. So on this synth ARP, actually what I want to do is bounce this in place so it becomes a audio file right underneath it. Right here towards the end, I'm going to make sure my scissors tool is selected. So I'm going to cut this part in half. On this track, I'm going to select it and then go to slow down here on the left. Turn that up. So it's about halfway through that last bar, and then turn this curve on. I'm going to actually make that negative so it spins out. I'm actually kind of make this ARP like a riser, so I'm going to turn up this fade in as high as I can and then turn the curve up a little bit. Alright, so I had some fun here with the melody. Now it's time for drums. So on my drums, I hit this plus here, and I can open up a new software instrument, or I could use this pattern. So let's go ahead and try both. So I'm going to open the software instrument again, and this is where I'm able to just find these drum kits, go through them just like we did with the instruments. But let's go to the other option, which is pattern, hit create. So this is going to open the Drum Machine Designer, in which I can open my keyboard and start to play in some of the sounds that are already loaded up here. So I'm basically just showing you where you can find different drum sounds. This tight trap one is good for just, you know, the OG trap beats that everyone's making. So they've got hi-hats, now they've got snares, kick drums, everything you basically need to build a beat in one instrument. So if you wanted to just record everything in here, you know, you could do that too. But what I like to do is duplicate these tracks so I have multiple, and then I can rename this snare. This could be my kick. And then quantize all the notes that I just played in. I'm just gonna duplicate that first snare to layer it with some other sounds. So then on this snare, if I want to manipulate it a little more, open a channel EQ and just start to play around with maybe some of the lower end. That gives it more of an impact. So I'm going to draw these ones in by going to my brush tool. Then I'm going to go to 1/8 note and then hold Command, click, and drag. Oops. So I'm going to layer my snare one more time. So I just added a few effects, including this compressor on the snare. I just turned that up a little bit. So I'm going to add in my kick drum by creating another MIDI region in that track. Open it up, and then let's go to a kick drum that we can use. I'm going to split that region in half, so at the outro here, I just want these two, and then I actually don't want this roll here. Then I'll just change this to note velocity, and then I can actually see the velocities for each note. So if I select all of these, draw a line so that they rise up, sounds like this. So just a little extra effect in the volume. So you can hear without the EQ. So you can use the EQ to kind of bring out those frequencies and these stock sounds that don't sound great on their own, bring out some warmth, make them hit a little harder. So going back to my hats, I'm gonna add in a few more rolls. So my kick drum, I just added in this overdrive that was already on the track actually. Just turned up the drive to 2, the output down a little bit, and kept the tone at its highest. Finally, I'm gonna drag my original melody down right beneath my kick and then call this my 808. So on this track, I'm gonna go on the left, and I like to go to the synthesizer basses. So I would go here and just find any that sound good, the top notes, and get rid of those so that I only have my bass notes right here. And I'm just using this EQ to bring out a frequency I think sounds good. I'm not gonna keep that too high. Alright, so at this point, I've got enough within my beat. I can start to arrange it a little bit. So I'm gonna start to duplicate these over to about right there, which will make it the end of the beat. And then I can just start to sequence the different sections. And on my mastering track, while I'm jamming out to this, I'll add the adaptive limiter that I always add to my beats and just turn that down to 20, output to -0.1, and then you can adjust the gain to increase the volume of your beat overall. So on my kick drum here, I just added this spreader, so it kind of spreads the sound. I don't know what else to say. And so I'll play it without, then turn it on. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it just brings the kick up a lot. Another cool mixing trick you can add is on my 808 sometimes to give it a more surround sound is go to this Monero panner. Again, don't know how to say it. I'll change this to spherical. It's a lot more prominent if you had headphones on right now, but this is basically going to put the bass more in front of you, and if I wanted to go right or left or even behind you, this is more of a spatial audio type of thing you can apply. On my melodies track, I'm going to add this fat effects, see what we can do with this. You know, it's not bad. It's a stock beat, and you know, you can really only get so far with the stock beats, but at this point I'm just arranging my beat. So if I wanted this to be a bridge right here, I just cut that out and then go ahead and duplicate basically what I did in this first set for this verse, and then just duplicate that over right after. Keep the automation in, so then boom, I have that. And if I really wanted to just speed run this, just copy my intro, put that at the end, and call it an outro as well. So that's it for this one. I'm gonna leave it for you in the outro to hear, but if you can, please leave a like and subscribe. Helps out the channel a lot. Appreciate you guys for watching. Keep making music, keep it simple, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.